What's going on, guys? Welcome to Ride Pro. Today we are assembling the G63 from Big Toys Direct, fully licensed AMG G63. So this one we have already put together, and we have another one sitting right here in a box. So this one is the premium version, and the one that I have in the box right here is the limited edition. We are gonna get started in unboxing this, and I'm gonna show you how I kind of handle this car, help you along. Feel free to pause at any time that you need to, and we're gonna build this thing together. So let's get started.
Let's do it!
I genuinely cannot believe the size of these motors and these gearboxes on the limited edition ones. These are pure beef.
We do have a little plastic plate on top of the car here where the tablet mounts, and we want to protect that when we have the car upside down for assembly. So what we're going to do is we're going to stack a couple of things just to make sure that that plate is elevated off of the box, and I'm just using a toolbox and some foam. It's an easy way to ensure that we don't end up cracking that plate off and we have it safely elevated. Now Ariana is taking everything out of the bags and packaging and laying everything out so that we can see everything that we have. It also makes it a lot easier to find the parts that we need for each step. Now in the back of the car there is a whole back piece pushed in to protect it from shipping. It is kind of tricky to get it out, and you do have to massage it carefully not to scratch or break anything, but if you take your time it's easily removed by pulling it straight out.
So for the first step, we're gonna need 6 of these black 12mm screws and this plastic plate right here, which is gonna go with the 4 holes towards the front of the car. And there are 2 tiers of mounting locations. There's this one up top and one that is lower. We're gonna go to the lower one.
Now I am using a drill to install these screws just to make the process faster, but I should warn you, set your drill if you are using one on the lowest setting possible so you don't end up damaging or over tightening.
The next 2 screws you are gonna have to go through the bumper. There's access holes here in the back for you to tighten those up. So the next part we're installing is this plate right here in the back, and you're gonna need 7 of these screws from your hardware bag. And this one is gonna go underneath the bumper and on that higher tier that I was talking about. And you wanna make sure that you kind of pull it up. It'll kind of click in place so you can get started on the screws on this side. Next step is going to be our rear bumper, and that has a bump out. We're going to use 3 more screws, and that bump out goes into this channel over here in the back. So the next step is to mount up these big boys. And what you're gonna need are the gearboxes. You're gonna need the gearbox brackets, and you're gonna need the hardware for that. You're gonna need an 8mm wrench or an adjustable wrench. On the gearboxes, you'll find they are labeled. This one is the right side, and then this guy is the left side. Little stamp right here underneath the car that shows you which side is which, and we're gonna just match that up with the gearbox that we're using. This little tube right here, this is where your axle is gonna go through. So we're gonna go ahead and line that up with the gearbox. We're gonna take our bracket, put it over it, and let's get those bolts. I'm going to tell you to tighten one side and wait until you're done with the axle to tighten the other side so this lines up and you can freely move it and adjust it as you need it. So we're gonna go ahead and pop the other side on right now. Next step, we're gonna grab our axle and we're gonna take off one of these nuts off of the axle. I wanna slide it through that tube.
Good?
Yep. We're gonna slide these gearboxes all the way in and we're gonna tighten this up. Hold it in there. We're going to tighten this up.
Once we have the gearboxes tightened down, we have these plugs for the gearboxes that need to run through the body inside. And there are openings on each side that we're going to put those plugs through on the left side and on the right side so that we can plug those in later on when we flip the car the right side up. Now the next step is to install the exhaust tips, and you want to make sure that you have the right exhaust tip for the right side. They are labeled.
Left, left. Just press it in.
I think I'm
You should hear it click.
I didn't. I think that's.
Do it click. There we go.
Hey!
It is in place.
Vroom, 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 vroom.
So our next step is going to be installing the wheels. We're going to go ahead and take off the nut right here. And we have two different wheels. One wheel that has the gear on it. This would be the back wheel. This is the one that we're going to use. The other wheel does not have a gear. So these we're going to save for the front. We're going to slide the wheels on.
Let's do it, Dad.
Watch the axle shaft.
Well done.
One thing to note on here, this axle shaft still moves freely. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a nut on one side. And then if we need more room on the other one, just like Ariana pushed it, we should be able to move it over to get both of the nuts on there and tighten them both together at the same time. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna install the washer.
I don't have the space.
You don't have the space on the other side? All right, we'll
have.
push the axle a little bit. I got the washer, I got the nut, and I started the nut on there, and now I'm gonna push all the way to make sure that we have enough on the other side. Now we're gonna need two 17mm wrenches or an adjustable wrench that you can tighten both sides at the same time. All right, hold your wrench on that side, Arya.
Okay.
Now, after we tighten it, we're gonna make sure that we can move the wheels freely and they're not binding up.
You get the wheel cover. You match up with the tab with the hole. So I'm gonna put this thing in, and I'm gonna push that. It will like crack a little. Like it won't crack. It will make like a pop to the center. Yeah.
There you go.
That's how you put
The wheel cover on.
the wheel cover on.
Make sure it's all clipped in. Now we're gonna do the other side. All right. There we go. That's on there.
So the next step is to install the front wheels. Now in the instructions it does show an extra plug to plug in when you're installing this, but that is actually for the premium version, which features the 4 smaller gearboxes. The special edition version has only 2 gearboxes, so for this step we only need to install the wheels with a washer.
We're gonna go ahead and remove the nut that's already on there.
I'll do that.
All right, you can get started on the other side. Here's the wrench. All right, we're gonna take this off.
Like this?
Yep. So before we install the wheel, we are gonna have to use the larger washer on the little axle. We're gonna install our front wheels. Once again, this is the wheel that has the flat portion without the gear on it. We're gonna install the wheel. Make sure that that axle comes through that bearing. Then we're gonna take our smaller washer, we're gonna install it on the wheel here, and we're gonna reinstall the nut again. Go ahead and tighten it. And what I like to do, once it's snug, I don't wanna over tighten it, because if I tighten it too much, it kinda stops my wheel from spinning freely. I'm gonna come back in here and loosen it about a half a turn, so my wheel spins freely. Ariana's finishing up the other side right now. She just got the washer on. All right, you got it snug. And we're gonna back it up
To here?
a half a turn.
This?
Yep. Half a turn out.
That's good.
Yep. And spin the wheel.
The next step is install the wheel covers. We're gonna do that with the front side with these kind of wheel covers. Let's press it in.
Now we have to get this thing over and
Dad,
on
to
its
take off
wheels.
the thing.
Yep, take off those things.
Scooch the car.
The next step does look kind of intimidating, but it's actually very simple. We have our charging port that's going to go right here. We have a red plug that's unplugged, and we have the male version of that red plug that's unplugged. We're going to go ahead and plug these in together and lay the wires flat. These two wires, and they're kind of routed already in the positions that they need to go. We're gonna reach in the back where we put our wires from the gearboxes. These are the plugs that come in here, and we're gonna plug in the shorter one to the left one, and we're gonna plug in the longer one to the right one. Make sure it clicks in. Now these batteries are removable. You can actually unscrew the bolts from the plastic here and pull one battery out and put it on the charger and charge it. I typically keep my batteries in. We charge it up. We have our fun. Once the batteries are out of charge, we just plug it in through the charging port that is under the seat right here, and we just leave it overnight to charge it. Make sure everything is tucked in and out of the way where the seat is gonna go. Start the car up. And that's just to make sure that everything is working. We're gonna make sure it's not in the remote control, and it says manual operation, MO right here. Put it in manual operation, put it in gear, and make sure by pressing the gas a little bit that the car moves forward. If I put it in reverse and I click the pedal, make sure the car rolls back. Now that I know that everything is working, I'm gonna go ahead and turn everything off. I'm gonna put it back into the remote control mode, and I'm just gonna turn it off. The next step, we're gonna install our spare tire, and I'm gonna slide it into here. You might have to adjust this little bracket right here. Now before we put these 3 screws in, I do have to say one of the coolest things is that this is a real spare tire that you can take off of here and actually use as a spare wheel for the car. One of the awesome benefits of buying ride-on toys from Big Toys Direct is that they think of these little details that are just awesome. To use the spare tire for whatever purpose. To remove it, we take out these 2 screws right here. This is actually like, it goes on here like a wheel cover. So once those 2 screws are out, we're gonna put it in a flathead screwdriver, pop that off in the top, pop that off on the bottom. You have a nut right here to take off the wheel. As you can see, it's a full-size wheel. It actually includes the bearings that are on all 4 wheels. Once you get your spare back on, you pop this on just like you do with the wheel covers. Line these guys up, and you install the screws.
It's the back.
It's the back. All right, let's get the back on.
Let's line it up.
It's kind of cool. It has a reinforcement on the inside, which is kind of cool.
Yep, let's push it out.
Line that up. Line up all the tabs.
Dad, your tab is not lined up.
Oh, my tab's not lined up too. Push it in. Now we have to install the screws. These other 2 are going to be a little bit tricky because you have to get behind the spare tire. So the next step is installing the seat, and we're gonna go ahead and fold it into a 90-degree angle and push the tabs in and install the small screws 4 across the bottom of the seat.
Once we've done with the screws, we're going to go ahead and get the seat right side up, line up the tabs to the back of the car, and slide the seat all the way in, making sure the harnesses are out of the way. And then we're going to use a flathead screwdriver to go ahead and line up those holes with the plastic screws. And these are just going to lock the seat into place, so it's easily removable, and you basically remove it the same exact way. For the next step, we are going to be using the longer screws. These are the silver ones, the 16mm ones. These are the ones that are going to go into the doors. Each door panel is labeled to which side it needs to go to. We're going to push it down until it clips in, and then we're going to use the assembly manual to make sure that we get the screws into the right places, as the manual has it marked very clearly which holes the screws go into. And we're going to repeat this on both sides of the car.
Now we're going to install the stickers where we put the screws in.
In the next step, we're going to be installing the windshield, and Ariana is plugging in the lights that are on the windshield. We're going to make sure that the tabs line up, set the windshield upright, and we're going to install 4 of these black screws to hold the windshield down across the entire front of the windshield.
Next step is the brace in the front.
The next step we're going to be working on is the hood, and that just clips into place, and when you're closing it, just make sure that you line up the pins that are supposed to go into the holes. This is also a functioning storage. Now, in all the excitement, we did forget this fully licensed awesome AMG steering wheel, but that's not a big deal because this is a simple installation. All you have to do is plug in the wires, make sure that you push that plug down inside the steering column, and the steering wheel just snaps into place.
Next step, we're installing the mirrors. L is for left and R is for right.
Yep. Hold on, let me be the Mercedes chiropractor. Okay, take a deep breath and
You got it, Dad.
so next step is the floor mat, and when we're installing it, we're going to make sure that the gas pedal is going to go in this opening right here.
Let's do it.
In the next step, we're going to be installing the tablet that came with the car. It does include instructions, and after peeling off the protective layer, we powered it on and made sure that it works. It also comes with an SD card for you to be able to load music and videos on, which makes it super easy to get your own media onto the tablet. And a quick tip while installing the tablet, you want to make sure that you slide it all the way down so those little pin connectors actually connect and charge the tablet, as the tablet does not come with much of a charge on it. Once you have the tablet charged up or connected, it's pretty simple to navigate through and find the music and the videos. Now, the G63 does come with a separate MP3 player that you can load up some music on there using a USB thumb drive, or it has some preset music and stories and things like that for the kids to use. The nice thing is it has a knob for volume control, which is kind of new, and a light on it, which I really like. It also has Bluetooth and an input jack to use with an MP3 player. So in the next step, we're going to be setting up the remote control. The first thing we're going to have to do is put batteries, which requires 2 AAA batteries in the back of the remote control. You will need a Phillips screwdriver to access those. The next step is going to be programming the remote control, and we want to make sure that we put that switch on the dash to RC mode, which is for remote control. Then we're going to press and hold the programming button until it starts rapidly blinking. You can let go of the button at that point and turn the car on. At this point, the blinking should stop, and now your remote control is hooked up. Easiest way to check if that works is to use the steering buttons on the controller and see if your steering will actually turn in the car,
And at this point, as you can see, it's hooked up and it works. Once you're done with the assembly, you might have some extra hardware left over. Don't be alarmed. These are just spares. Set them aside if you need them later. And then the next step is to charge it up before you go out and ride. Now, this is a 24-volt charger, and I like to write the model of the car on my charger. So this is for the G63. The reason is I don't want to plug this into another car that is possibly 12 volts or use a 12-volt charger on a 24-volt car that this is. The charging port for this car is under the seat right here. Once you plug it in, it will cut all power to the car, except the tablet. The tablet has its own dedicated battery inside of the tablet, so you want to make sure that you turn that off separately. Now, the charger also has an indicator light on it. Once you plug it in, while it's charging, it's going to show a red light. And then once it's fully charged, that red light will turn to a green light. That means you are ready to roll. And Ariana and I are done building this beautiful Mercedes G63. I hope this video helped you guys out. Now, Big Toys Direct has definitely knocked these out of the park with the quality, with the way they look, and the functionality of them. I love the big motors on the limited edition. And if you guys want to see the difference between the premium and the limited edition, we're going to put a link in the description for you guys to check out our full review video and the difference between the two models. And if you haven't gotten one yet,
Links are in the description.
I want to thank you guys for watching. Hopefully this helped you out, and I will see you guys in the next video. Later.